Hello and welcome back, everyone. Now that we've had a bit of a break from the bombastic time that Pippi and Happy gave us, I hope you're ready for the second Zelda game featured in Rejects and Friends Sub-Zero 2022, benefiting Planned Parenthood. I, once again, am Liz the Wizard, your resident host and donation-waving warlock for this run of NMG, so no major glitches, any percent, of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, the 1991 version. Our runner, Requiem of Spirit, will be taking on one of the most popular Zelda speedruns in a very fast, hopefully, journey to stop the evil wizard Aghanim from allowing Ganon to re-enter the Light World. Although I am a fellow wizard, I will be rooting for Spirit the whole time. And while there are plenty of minor glitches during the course of this run, definitely nothing major, thanks to the generous anonymous donation we received, we reached the incentive for a true any percent showcase immediately following the completion of NMG, so look forward to that. And although that incentive was met, there is a raffle live during the course of this run for ornaments crafted and painted by the very talented Wicked Midna. They feature the Twitch and Discord logos. If you are interested in what they look like, I believe the pictures of them are on the schedule. It's $5 to enter into this raffle. You select the reward in checkout and potentially have a handcrafted ornament on your tree for years to come. Also, as a quick reminder, there is a brand new channel for Rejects and Friends and future marathons. While we're still here this year, this is going to be a great link for future events for the community and just a hub that we could all be. So give that a follow, promote that to your friends, and we hope to see you over there next time. And now I'm going to pass it off to our runner Spirit and their commentators.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. As was mentioned, this is going to be A Link to the Past NMG any percent. Essentially, we're going to be playing the game as intended, with some minor skips along the way. As I start, I guess, my commentators, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I am Fox. I will be commentating today.
Hello, this is Chex Human. Good luck, Requiem.
All right, so time starts on file select, so I'll just go ahead and count us down. Let's start in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so this is A Link to the Past, as I think a bunch of people just said. It starts off kind of slow, sort of a tutorial section. It's all about just having clean movement. It's not very techy. It's not very glitchy. Pretty low-key start. Usually no big surprises here. Do you want to explain pumping checks?
I was begging that you would ask me that. Thank you, Fox. So Link's movement in this game is based on a pattern per frame. The frame rate is 60 frames per second, and every frame, Link alternates between moving 1 or 2 pixels. So if you pump, in other words, if you hold left or up and then you start to mash in a perpendicular direction, then you have a chance of resetting this 2-1 pattern and you can potentially gain a pixel. So this will happen a lot while we are walking around.
Yeah, Requiem doesn't have an input display or anything, but he is furiously mashing his D-pad to try to save a handful of frames here and there throughout certainly the first couple splits, and then sometimes in other places as well. So our first goal... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was just saying, it looks like Link's moving normally, but I'm very furiously mashing right along that wall.
Yeah. If you really, really grind hard, you can maybe save 10 frames in that room.
A big room.
It is a big room. So the escape sequence, we call it, you got to go down into the basement and rescue Zelda and then escape out the back with her. The game is trying to teach us a bunch of things, sort of basic stuff like how to slash your sword, and then also things like it's got very simple kill rooms where you have to kill all the enemies to open the door. It has guards that drop keys that you need to open doors. Just sort of a gradual on-ramp to all the sort of main building blocks of the rest of the game. And we pick up our boomerang, first item that we pick up. If you've played this game before, you might be surprised that we didn't grab the lamp in Link's house, but turns out that there's actually 3 places that you can get the lamp from, and it's slightly faster to pick it up in the basement.
And it's quite nice that we're able to use the boomerang right when we open up the chest that has it. If we picked up the lamp in Link's house, we would have to switch to it.
Right. Yeah. The boomerang is one of the very small number of optional items that we pick up over the course of the run. It is pretty handy to have. We use it for a few strats. It makes a few things a little easier, slightly faster. One of the main impacts of it, surprisingly, is that there is an upgraded boomerang in the game. And if you forget to get the boomerang, air quotes on forget, in Hyrule Castle, there's no way to get the upgraded boomerang later. So they stuck a chest in the game that's the red boomerang if you don't have the blue boomerang. But if you do, it's 300 rupees, and that's the fastest 300 rupee chest. So like half the time save of grabbing the boomerang is actually just getting rupees later.
That's true.
Yeah. We just breezed past a couple things. One, that ball and chain guard was... that guard can sometimes be annoying. I very rarely see him come there. But if he comes near you, I guess that's one use for having the boomerang. So I can get him out of the way without getting owned too much. And another thing we sort of brushed over while describing pumping is what we're running on. So pumping is pretty complicated. But so what I'm currently running this on is I'm running A Link to the Past JP 1.0. So this is the first version of the game that ever released. And I'm running that on a SNES Classic. So Japanese, you might have heard this for a lot of other games, but for a lot of old games, Japanese saves a lot of time. I think for this game, it saves over a minute, I want to say.
I don't know if anybody has really ever timed it very carefully, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and special thing about SNES Classic, which some people in the community find it kind of a meme in terms of being controversial, but the emulator for SNES Classic actually has some pretty terrible lag emulation in that it doesn't lag in places where it should. And so I end up saving time in a bunch of places, but since the frame rate's lower, I end up losing all that time anyway.
Yeah, the jury's a little bit out on that one. We haven't done the research to know how it shakes out overall. But yes, it is slower frame rate. It's probably still slower than original hardware. You can see there, so Link doesn't have a shallow diagonal movement. So every time that Link is moving at this shallow diagonal, like across the water, that's from spirit pumping. Whoa, that was a lot of rats. Okay. He's doing that same movement that gets the shallow diagonal against walls all the time, where it actually saves more time, but is not visible to the end viewer.
It's a very mean rat.
Yeah.
Alright, speaking of SNES Classic time save, we're actually coming up on one of them. This saves 100 frames over the real console.
Yeah, just because of bad lag emulation on these text boxes.
So, at the low level and intermediate level, there's actually a lot of safeties available to players. A lot of bottles, bugnet, half magic, so many things that people can get to be safe. At the high level, which is what I'll be trying to play at, the only safety I collect at is that heart you just saw, which costs about 3 seconds, and it helps in a lot of boss fights. Makes a bunch of stuff easier. I don't think it's worth dropping, even at the highest level, but I guess some people can disagree.
I don't get it anymore, but I should. I'm just dumb. You do collect one more safety in Turtle Rock, but we'll talk about that when we get to it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Everyone should be collecting that one.
So we're into Eastern now. You've probably, if you've played this game before, or watched randos or whatever, you'll note the very tragic lack of boots. We have to do one more dungeon before we can get the boots and start really going fast. Eastern is a lot like the Escape. It's a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more sort of strat heavy. Still, though, very, very much just about clean movement. Clean movement meaning things like not nudging on doors, good pumping. Pumping on stairs saves a lot of time. Just like not walking into stuff, maximizing diagonal movement, because diagonal movement is faster overall than cardinal movement. So for the first 11 minutes of the game, we're just focused on that stuff.
Link can even save time at the top and bottom of manual staircases by turning perpendicular or creating dash dust. And we saw Link wobble very slightly at the top of the 2 staircases before Eastern Palace, which can potentially save 10 frames each.
Yeah. Requiem actually did a bunch of research on the specifics of what we call stair drag canceling that Chucks was just describing. Pretty helpful.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay,
So we're killing everything in this room.
that room is supposed to spawn 4 skeletons, and normally we only spawn 2, and we kill them as they're spawning, so you can never really see them. Requiem made a slight input error there and threw a pot down instead of right and spawned 3 by accident.
It is so easy to throw that pot the wrong way because you're just switching your thumb to the opposite direction on the D-pad.
Yeah. Most people deliberately lose probably 20 frames in that room in order to avoid having to lose 2 seconds.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say one other thing we're looking out for here is rupees, but we're already up to 6 rupees, which is pretty good. No problems with that many.
Yeah, we have the option to slash or boom. If we slash, we have a chance for a rupee drop.
Nice damage boost.
Yeah, so the intended strat in this room is to kill every enemy, and then the anti-fairies will disperse, and then I can finally grab that pot and hit the switch to get the big key. But you can damage boost straight through that, speeding up that room by quite a bit.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty dangerous strat. It's a big stumbling block for new players learning the run, I think.
Menus are well optimized, and players have preferences about where they use the menus because they can stop their movement in particular places. And Requiem was able to stair drag cancel there.
The backstretch of Eastern is actually surprisingly one of the most difficult portions of the game. There's a lot of very precise movement in the anti-fairy room, and then this room is very difficult RNG-wise. And
hold my sword out.
Okay. And fire everywhere you have to fire arrows is very difficult to do optimally. Getting the correct rhythm and spacing and everything is very difficult.
That's not right. That's also not right.
Thanks for showing off what I was talking about. Okay, so that's not great, but it's fine. There's a quick kill that Requiem was trying to do there. If you kill the last Armos right after you kill the second to last Armos, then it never turns red. But a little bit of an error there, no big deal.
When it turns red, it regains its health too, so it takes 3 arrows from that point.
Yeah. So now we can finally get the boots. The game is about to be playable.
Pog. And they are known as the Pegasus shoes in the English version.
Yeah.
Are they actually not called the Pegasus boots? Really?
Yeah, so Hazrela calls them the Pegasus shoes.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's official, but we know and love them as the Pegasus boots.
So this is the first minor glitch of the run. If you release a spin and then tap A on the same frame you release the spin, you get in this wonky state where if you leave a staircase in that state, you go at dashing speed in all directions, which is really fast, both because dashing is really fast and because you can't turn in dashing state in this game. You see Requiem keeps dashing and then having to charge a second dash after the turn. And so getting to do turns and diagonals and stuff at boot speed is really, really fast.
It's also really hard to control when you're first learning. So it feels pretty out of control at first, but we get used to it. It still can look silly when we mess up, of course. But that won't happen in this run.
No.
Oh no, never.
We spliced all the errors out of this run in pre-production.
All right, so in that screen, we actually do very specific movement to have that guard see you and sort of bait him out of the way. Because if he doesn't, he can actually get in your way, make you lose some time.
That's true. We're doing things like that all over the place, by the way. Strats that sort of silently manipulate enemies or handle various RNGs that it's very not obvious is being handled.
I didn't even get to call out Splashy Dashy 3 screens ago, which Requiem did not do because of the well-optimized movement that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these first 2 dungeons and escape are all fairly mundane, so to say. It's just a bunch of movement. This entire dungeon is just completely empty, so as to show Link how to dash, so to speak. We're going to be dashing a lot through this dungeon. Do I need money? I do need money. Let's try to see if we can farm from this guy. Steal his money. Nope, he had nothing.
Yeah, I'd get the pot.
Yeah, probably should.
That's an interesting question. How many bonks does this run have? Optimally, I don't actually know. I would guess 8-ish. We bonk over a few gaps, and we have to knock a couple things off of torches and bookshelves, but not very many. But most runs will have a few accidental bonks.
I believe we bonk open a bomb wall or 2.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's true, too. We also bonk to get ourselves into quick work position, which we'll be explaining soon.
Right.
Quick warps, right. Yeah. So I don't know.
I think there's only one that we bombed for quick warps, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so we did mention earlier that we wanted money. We need 110 rupees to open the front of Palace of Darkness later in the dungeon.
Right,
and
which
for
means
that,
we
I
need
want to
9
be
here.
Obviously. Yeah, we want to be exiting this dungeon with at least 9. You can actually pull trees in this game, and based on how many enemies, well, some trees, and based on how many enemies you've killed and how much damage you've taken in the process, the tree can either give you nothing, a set of green rupees, blue rupees, or red rupees. And we're going to be doing that twice to get 1 set of blue and 1 set of red rupees. Oh, didn't get that one.
Yeah, Requiem is going for another spin speed there, but it is a frame perfect trick, and it's very easy to just not get them.
3 rupees was a big route improvement when it came out, thanks to HCMLM in 2014, I believe. But I believe the time save is only about 4 seconds over getting Sahasrara rupees.
Yeah, it's pretty small. It's a lot more fun, though.
It is.
Alright, coming up here on arguably the hardest boss in the speedrun. Not because it can kill you, but because it's extremely difficult to do fast. Any of you guys want to describe how this boss fight should go?
So there's 3 worms, and they hop out of the ground. The first time they hop out of the ground, their spawn point is fixed. Then after that, where they go to and every subsequent place they spawn from is random. And you gotta put 4 arrows in each worm, or 2 slashes can replace an arrow.
You came out of the same place there.
Yeah, that's not great RNG.
Oh, I think that could have 3-cycled. If I had gotten that arrow.
Maybe.
Yeah, that could have 3-cycled.
Okay, yeah.
Early 4, still commendable. Nice boomerang menu. This is a free menu, basically. the pause menu, the start menu is essentially a pause. However, some things still run, like waiting for the pendant to drop. And so that's a time when we can menu to whatever we like.
The boomerang menu there is very, very marginal, but it can save a few frames. And if you get bad pickle RNG, it's better to throw a boomerang at a pickle than shoot an arrow, because arrow supply is limited. 8 arrows is actually not an awesome amount of arrows to have here. I'm not sure exactly what strats you do in Aga Tower, but you might want to think about that.
All right, our next minor glitch of the run. We don't have flippers, and without flippers, the game doesn't let Link swim. But the flipper check is actually a 2-frame check. So if you get to the edge of the screen, and then just swim into the screen transition, the game just lets you swim.
It's actually when the splash animation finishes its animation. That's what kicks you out of the water.
Yeah.
It's pretty funky the way that works too, because it takes something like 8 frames for that splash to appear. Coincidentally, it takes 8 frames for Link to accelerate right 1 pixel and hit the transition. So Link can hit the transition in just the nick of time.
Thank you. He just wanted a hug.
Yeah, these squirrels are known as dead rocks, and they are a pain in this speedrun. So Requiem froze one to make sure.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, that's also unfortunate.
Yeah.
Everyone really loves Death Mountain, and you can really see why. Oh, that's interesting. You know what? I'll just dash.
Whoop, gotcha. So Requiem's also down to 3 hearts out of 6, and it's not uncommon for this to happen, unfortunately. So we'll have to watch our health a little bit here.
There is a safety strat we can do in Hera to get a heart refill up at the top before the boss, which I'm guessing Requiem will probably do here.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. If we get there with no mishaps before, of course.
Well, right. Our options for refilling on our options for refilling on hearts.
That guy
here,
really scared me.
Yeah, I could tell. Are basically death warping, which will respawn us with I think 4 hearts, or making to the very top of the dungeon. Yeah, Hera is very famously. This is Hera, by the way. That's why I said Hera. This dungeon and the whole split, including Death Mountain, is famously a very serious run killer. Even the top level players just lose tons of time or die here just all the time.
I guess more common than dying is just the final boss of this dungeon being an absolute troll. You can probably justify most. He can Moldorm, who's at the top of this dungeon, a giant Moldorm, can knock you off of his arena, and you have to restart this fight from the beginning, as you'll see. Most of the time he does that, it's usually your fault, but hopefully we won't see. You're right.
Yeah, it's usually at least somewhat your fault, but the fact that it's your fault doesn't make it easy to start not messing up. Okay, this is not a great health situation.
Those mini Moldorms are vicious.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can still make it to the top with no issues.
I believe in you.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
There is a bomb jump that we have to do, which requires taking a heart of damage. So we're gonna rely on picking up a not always safe pot. So everything's gonna be fine though.
It's all fine. We're all fine.
This is the room.
We
You like to call it petting zoo.
That was a little scary.
It was.
That's fine. That's fine? Okay.
So here's the
Yeah.
bomb. Back to 1 heart. We have the Moon Pearl now.
The Moon
A lot
Pearl,
of those enemy patterns were pretty scary.
yeah, that Moldorm was a little bit on you. We need the Moon Pearl in order to be Link in the Dark World. We didn't really mention it at all, but on our way into Hera, we went into the Dark World for like 3 seconds, and we're a bunny. That's because we didn't have the Moon Pearl yet. All right, this is Moldorm. This fight is very difficult and dangerous. Okay, that's fine.
That was also dangerous. Oh,
Yeah.
that was very dangerous. Hello.
What are
This is fine. This is all
You're
fine.
not definitely not panicking. Okay. Well, we actually didn't take any damage or fall somehow.
I'm gonna say nice fight.
Great fight.
We didn't die. This is all good.
So what we've done in this game is we've earned 3 pendants, and these will allow us to wield the Master Sword, which is needed to defeat Aghanim. So the next segment is Aghanim's Tower.
It's actually not needed to defeat Aghanim.
That's true.
That is true.
It is very indirectly needed to defeat Aghanim, in that it's needed to enter the barrier into Aghanim's tower.
Well, I guess we're not getting those set of arrows, but 8 arrows is perfectly fine if I don't mess up at all.
Right. Well,
All right, here's our
we
first
can-
set of triples. Where I need 3 rupees here. Oh no, my arrows.
So now we
Yeah.
have to kill 4 enemies. The first one was that bird. We have to kill 4 enemies and then pull another tree without taking any damage. So that's
That's
2
3.
more.
Requiem entered on a particular axis to be able to get those 2 dashes in. And there's the Master Sword.
So, one thing, I'm not sure if we glossed this over while I was panicking. I'm not sure if we explained what bomb jumps were or how they worked. Another minor glitch.
Yeah, if you get hit by a bomb when you're right next to a pit, and the pit isn't very long, it'll just knock you straight over to the other side of the pit. But you have to be within 2 pixels, whatever. There's 2 vertical pixels that you can stand on to get across the gap.
Yeah, before you fall, of course.
Right. So Requiem did a setup where he spun his sword,
That was scary.
walked over the pit and released a sword spin. And that allows you to normalize your position.
There's also, I guess, a more optimal. That's dangerous. There's a more optimal version of the setup where people place the bomb extremely early, and that saves about a second overall. I've never implemented that. Never thought it was worth it, but it is pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It looks more daring than it really is, but definitely very optional strat.
There are a couple of setups that have changed over the years. Requiem used the more recent spin method to line up on the very last pixel. Other strats involve bonking. Because when Link is suspended, for some reason, there's a 6 pixel window where Link can be boosted across the pit.
Beams, hello? Alright, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
So here are the double spear guards. Requiem dashes through them specifically so that they do not drop anything, because they are the part of the fairy prize pack, and we don't want to advance the drops in this particular prize pack because we want to save the fairy for much later in Turtle Rock.
About a whole hour away from now. Ow.
Hopefully not.
Oh, yeah, I guess I don't know my global timers.
So this climb up Agadim's tower is very, very technical, difficult. It's going pretty well so far. That first room, well, technically the second room, the first interesting room, the strat got a little wonky, but the rest of this has been good.
Oh, he's falling for all eternity. That was a lot of fall noises.
I love the fall noises. Enemies just dropping off.
It's very fun that enemies can just walk into pits in this game. This is one of the hardest rooms in the game. Yeah, well done. Making it up to the top of the tower with beams intact is a really good sign. I think you're saving like 15 seconds on my Aga Tower climb from earlier today.
Oh no. That's not a good sign. Alright, coming
Fox
up
did
on
Din.
everyone's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Fox did Din Din in the very first room. That's a strat where you don't have beams, you don't have, so it's just an easy strat.
You just wait by the door and wait for the ball and chains to come to you to double spin them.
Yes.
But yes, coming up on the best boss in the game. Everyone's favorite RNG boss, and probably the first tennis fight in Zelda, I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's been a tennis fight in Z1 and Z2.
I don't think so. I think this is the first one.
So, Aghanim has 5 attacks per cycle, with the first attack always being a reflectable ball, and attacks 2 to 4 being 50-50 between a reflectable and what you just saw there, a blue ball. Hopefully we get not too many blue balls.
Yeah, every blue ball costs either 6 seconds, or if it induces another lightning cycle, it goes up to costing you 12 seconds. Z2 does have a tennis fight? Okay, I guess I just never got that far.
Z2 has Reflect versus Wizrobe. I'm just not sure that qualifies as tennis.
So we've gotten 2 so far, I'm pretty sure.
Right, so we're either getting 2 or 3.
2? Not bad.
Do you think this is PB pace, Requiem?
I don't think so. I think my light roll was pretty bad. But at least in terms of my PB got 3 blue balls, which loses an additional 12 seconds to what I just got there, so it's nice to see. You either want to see very low blue balls, or you want to see like really high, like 14 or 15, which is the max, because the percentage chance of hitting that is like 0.002 or something similar. It's absurdly low, and yet I think like 3 or 4 people have hit 14 and 15 before.
We have one person has gotten 15 blue balls. He got it twice. And one person has gotten 14 blue balls once. To my knowledge, those are the only like verified instances of either. I have heard claims that other people have gotten them, but no vid, no did. IMHO. Yeah, you really want to get like 2 or fewer, or you want to get so many that it's just funny.
Alright, we are on to our first Dark World dungeon, and here's where all the money we collected is going to be put to good use. We're going to meet Kiki the monkey, who robs us blind in order to open this dungeon for us.
You know, we like to talk about how he's a cheat and robbing us and whatever, but also we did literally pull the money off of trees and it took us like 8 seconds.
Box details.
So, Palace of Darkness is all about collecting a bunch of keys up front and party in the back, I guess. No, we have to collect the hammer from the back of the dungeon, and then we'll take that to Helmsor King.
Right. This is the one major glitch that we do in this run, is getting the hammer.
Oh,
It is a rail clip that is aided by Pit State. So we'll see a bomb jump that takes us there.
Yeah, that's one of the tricks that probably shouldn't be in this run. You're about to see it in a bit. But it just got grandfathered in because it was discovered, 12 years ago at this point or something.
I don't know.
Before some people in the chat were born, probably. That's against Twitch TOS. Never mind. I didn't say that.
Shout outs to Tampa.
Did Tampa find it?
I think so, or at least he demonstrated it in his task.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, we're joking a little bit. Probably if it were found today, it wouldn't be in the run, but I don't think anybody's like really champing at the bit to get it out. It's a pretty big break in character with most of the gameplay of the run, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Adds a little
it
spice.
is. It's the one trick that requires you to be in like it's a double position perfect trick. Let's put it that way. I need to place a bomb on a specific pixel, and then I need to move exactly 8 pixels up.
Oh my
and
God,
this is
you
the
know
room where
how
we
many
do it.
pixels it is.
Yeah,
Pause buffering here to read our position while making slight adjustments, and the
Is that the right pixel? That is the right pixel. All right,
yeah,
okay.
I think so. the tile, the floor is falling, by the way, but it doesn't fall while the menu's up, which is why that's a good way to reposition.
So one thing you can do is just not pause buffer at all and just use sword buffers. And I tried to do that, but I buffered 1 frame extra, so I had to use menu buffers again to read my position. It's actually a really funny comparison video that compares the bomb jump to what you would do if you didn't do the bomb jump. And it's like, you can menu buffer like 30 times and still save time over the non-bomb jump.
You need another
strat.
heart.
That is a good point. You know what? Let's just do that.
Sure.
The alternate route is to go into another room and then downstairs into a basement to collect a small key, and then go through the maze, which takes a while.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of extra transitions and movement and stuff. It
All
does
right,
get us
okay.
money, though. Change the money route. Anyway, that's irrelevant. It's been irrelevant since 1998 when Tampa found the bomb jump.
Now we're making up years. I don't
Yes.
even think that year existed.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, that screen, that wall scroll is one of like a few instances of downtime. Downtime in this game is very rare. It's always continuous execution.
So this, by the way, is the magic hammer, which allows us to bypass those tiles that had the moles coming out of them, or peg blocks. We call them moles, I guess. And that's the only required use of the hammer. Well, that's the required use of the hammer on tiles. We also need the hammer to flip the turtles as well. And
Well, we
Requiem
could
also
get
uses
Quake.
them here. You're right.
So this boss fight is
I'm just gonna
pretty
wait.
tough. There was tech found.
That's not good.
You're fine. There was tech found, I guess, about 2 years ago now, where if you charge spin speed, you arm spin speed in this room, your hammer hitbox gets a lot better for killing this boss. So it went from being like one of the hardest fights in the game to only being, still probably one of the hardest fights in the game, but not quite as lethal. Does Quake
and that
not
is
flip
actually
the
one of the
turtles? I thought it
places-
did.
It stuns them.
Oh,
Oh, that's interesting.
I think they have to be already flipped.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, before we found the spin speed tech, we held our sword out instead. It slightly extended the hammer hitbox, but it was still, phase 2 was quite difficult. I'm really glad that this new strat was found.
Yeah, that was 2019.
So this is our first crystal. We have to free 6 more crystals, and this is also another instance of downtime. We're going to see 6 more of these, and they're all like 45 to 55 seconds. So if we have any donations, these are all perfect times. Of course, this one, unfortunately, is already over, but we'll be coming up on our next one soon. That is...
Oh, wow, the very rare first Roba lottery. Nice job.
Although that's probably my fault for starting the dash too low, I want to say.
I mean, you didn't have to tell them that, though. We could have just let you get away with it.
Yeah, this screen is kind of scary because there are a lot of things that do a ton of damage to you. Like
Yeah.
that
This
one.
overworld in particular is so much dangerous coming out of it. It is crazy.
That one was also kind of your fault because of not nudging on the tree, which is one of those tiny things that sort of hard to see as a casual viewer.
That is true. I guess I'll just go ahead and bonk the tree, eat some apples.
Yeah,
Apple.
make your uncle proud.
I'd say that I have no idea what the movement for that should be.
We'll figure it out together.
That's fine. All right, trivia time. If you boomerang an apple, can you dupe it? Or is that only actual hearts?
Can you boomerang apples?
Okay,
I never
trivia
knew you
time.
could.
Can you boomerang apples?
No. I will say no.
Okay. Malmo agrees with you.
You can't be boomerang apples. Interesting.
I would have guessed you can't, obviously.
Fox, how does heart
That's,
duping work?
How does heart duping work? If you boomerang or hookshot a heart, you have a 1 in 4 chance based on the frame roll to dupe it. I believe what's happening is basically that the check for the order of the checks for like the heart, like the boomerang wants to give you the heart from the heart, and then the heart is also on top of you and wants to give you the heart from itself. And so like depending on whether or not the heart gets deleted before the second check, sometimes you just get credit for it twice or something. There's a good explication of it, but I don't remember it in great detail, obviously.
Gotcha.
All right, I'm gonna revert back to the old strat because I'm not sure how I was to get here without alerting all the guards before my bonk. All right, we got some hearts back.
Conveniently-
That's good enough.
The apples bonked out of the top of the tree, exactly where you were walking.
That
I
was
don't think that always happens.
No, their location is random. I think the number is also random.
Yeah, thank you for increasing the bonk counter.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Oh yeah, one thing we didn't mention about bonks is that these bushes that we dash through, some of them have a chance to become a skull and just force an involuntary bonk.
That's not where you
Right.
dash.
That one looked gratuitous.
There's another one. Alright. We're in Thieves Town. This dungeon is usually fairly straightforward. Unfortunately, we started with a bunch of mishaps. Like 1 or 2 rooms that are pretty terrible, and the boss is, I'm not going to say it, the boss is completely RNG. Let's just hope we get good RNG today.
Right. Let's hope.
Oh, wow, the lag.
You stay on grid on that screen. I don't like the grid strat there.
Unfortunately, I didn't learn anything else.
Oh yeah, I meant to talk about key dashing at some point. You can dash through doors as long as they're not facing downwards. As long as you are dashing at them from a multiple of 4 pixels away from them. And luckily everything in the game is on a grid of 4 pixels.
Alright.
I
Waiting's
think you
probably
might
not a good
have to make
idea.
that.
Yeah.
So there's lots of places where we dash into doors and through them. And we do that by just nudging on anything in the room on our way to dash. To normalize our position relative to the grid.
Each town is a tough. Whew. Oh.
That's
What?
not normal. That is
Yeah.
also not
Oh,
normal.
no. You might want to grab the bombs in here. No, you're probably fine. Well, I don't know. It's whatever.
Okay. So the bomb explosion was directly over the crack in the floor that we wanted to explode, but it didn't work. Is that because it was suspended in front of the crack, or was it just at its
I think
Wrong
it wasn't
point.
landed yet. I think it exploded while it was still in the air, maybe? I'm really not sure. Something Z-axis. It might have been
might
a
have been
spooky bomb,
spooky.
yeah.
Which we haven't explained yet, but we'll get to it soon, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that guy kind of scared me.
That's fine.
Being
You're
on
on
3 hearts here
here.
is yeah,
So-
3 hearts is fine.
A lot of the dungeons, by the way, in this game is you find keys, find items, get to the boss. In this dungeon, there are a couple of objectives. We had to go to the attic to blow up the ceiling to let some light through into the boss room. Then we needed to find the maiden from the jail cell and then take her to the boss room. So it doesn't affect things too much in terms of dungeon length, but in glitch modes, it is kind of tricky to get everything done in this dungeon. But
That's
it
true.
wasn't a maiden at all. It was Blind, the boss.
This dungeon,
Who would have thought?
this dungeon is also a cute little callback to the escape sequence where you have to go into a jail cell and rescue the maiden.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. He gave us good RNG. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, if we have any donations, we have about 40 seconds to a minute of that being cool.
Awesome. We do have several donations. So from Comics, Nash, and Don't Thank Me Please, all contributing towards that ornament incentive. If anyone wants to get in on that, it's about $5. We also had a donation from Goop saying he was glad to be watching a spirit run that isn't at 2 a.m. for once. And just lots of good lucks and GGs to previous runners. And also an anonymous donation for $5, going towards a lot of the polls that we have for Tunic Color and for Hollow Knight, if they should talk to the Elder Bug or not. Keep it up, and remember that you can donate during this run only, and select the $5 reward at checkout for Discord and Twitch ornaments made by Wicked Midna.
All right.
Here.
There's a bit of running. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Here is the red boomerang chest. The
Oh, yeah,
300
that's true.
rupees.
So it is kind of a running joke that the blind fight is RNG. It actually isn't. The whole fight is, if you do the same thing every time, blind will also do the same thing. It's just that the moment you go off script, it's all up in the air.
Exactly.
I'll just
And
go
every
now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
every weapon deals the same amount of damage to blind. Basically, it always takes 3 hits per phase.
It's actually kind of the story of a lot of bosses, not the damage thing, but that there's a quick kill for them. The blind quick kill isn't really very quick because you just have to hit him 9 times, but there's some sort of strategy for defeating the boss in a way that's safe and fast, and if you do anything else, you're in huge trouble.
Yep.
All right, are we gonna get a fence dash here, Requiem?
We'll see. So we're going on this huge chore here, which takes a long amount of time to get our Tempered Sword, which double the damage of the Master Sword. Actually, if we were to stick with the Master Sword, that would remain ahead until just before Ganon. But it's in Ganon where the Master Sword just comes forward and ends up saving a lot of time. It also means the boss fights that we do are much simpler. They're not scary. Well, for the most part, some of them are still a little scary.
A lot less so, though. Yeah, we
Yes.
spend like 90 seconds getting the Tempered Sword, and it saves like 80 seconds on Ganon or something. And then it makes everything easier, which in RTA saves a lot of time. But in like in TAS or a Splice or whatever would save relatively small amounts of time.
Oh, nice bonk. Thank you. There's the skull in the bush
So we're
Fox was
coming up
talking about
on
earlier.
this mummy statue room here. Pretty difficult room. The mummies can really, really bully you. This looks... Oh no! You forgot the lesson. You gotta hold your sword out when you slash.
I think I was
All right,
trying to,
no big
but
deal.
since I was facing,
Taking one hit.
since I was facing the wrong direction. since I was facing the wrong direction, I tried to slash again, but the mummy just bulldozed me before I could.
And now we're doing another bomb jump. Here in just a second. It's time to get Fire Rod. The intended strat here is to drop down into the middle bush, and that square of 9 bushes is a hole into this part of the dungeon.
We skipped the blast wall sequence of this dungeon. It's one of maybe 2 blast walls in this video game. The other one has essentially no purpose. It's in Ganon's tower. And yeah, the bomb jump here is an easy way to get around it. All right, now we're in the mummy hallway, and Requiem is going to do the strat known as Joe Mummies. Thanks to Joe D'Amelio for popularizing that strat. And the other strat is Cypher, which is a little trickier, but optimal. All right, the Mothula fight, really well done. No spikes appeared, which is one way of telling that it was really well done. This fight can get pretty chaotic if not done well.
Yeah, those spikes start moving. The conveyor always tries to take you away from Mothula. It really ruins your day. So I'm happy that ended that fast.
And the fight starts with a dash or dash poke, and that can typically deal 2 hits of damage, and that is half of Mothula's health, essentially. It's just 2 more slashes after that.
All right, we're now in the Ice Palace split, and Ice Palace is particularly scary. It shouldn't be. Most of the screens should always go the same, but you know, especially when you're on pace, it can be kind of nerve-wracking.
Did we ever explain quick warps? I know we said we should, but did we?
I don't think we did. Hey, look, a quick warp.
Fox, what is a quick warp?
So whenever you transition between worlds, meaning either from light to dark world or vice versa, depending on where the camera is, sometimes the warp animation ends early and saves 34 frames. So there are 2 pixels every 8 pixels. It's only the horizontal position. So certain horizontal positions just make the warp animation much faster. And so we try to hit those in almost every warp. Some of them there isn't a quick warp available. But for instance, right here, we're going to bonk off of this wall, and that will put us on a quick warp pixel.
That is one of the intentional bonks we do. I think the only one we do to get on a quick warp pixel. There are some dinosaurs in the community who know how to read the quick warp position based on the ladder on the right side of the screen, I believe, but I don't think anyone who still runs the game knows how to.
Yeah, so if you watch the screen sort of waver, it'll stop wavering when the wiggles are like 3/4 of the way down the screen instead of when they're all the way at the bottom if you get the quick warp successfully.
So the 2 300 rupee prizes or chests that we picked up before Skull Woods are used here to purchase the finger webs or Zora's flippers.
And this is what actually lets us swim. The fake flippers we did before, we shouldn't have been able to swim. But now we can actually do that. We can get Dice Palace. Just a quick call out. On about the second screen after we beat Skull Woods, I actually called the flute. right before screen transitioning. So that wasn't just like a flex or anything. That's actually a trick that's necessary to do. We'll be explaining that more maybe 2 splits from now. But all you need to know is that causes, or that allows us to kill the Freezor in the first screen much faster. Oh, hello Warp.
Swimming
Any day
is
now.
fun. So those, because fake flippers is a legal trick in this category, the flippers are actually only needed for a handful of screens in Swamp Palace. We don't need them to get to Ice Palace. We could just do that with a minor glitch instead, but we have to get them for later.
Probably should have just fired out of that guy. I thought he would get in my way and avoid the fire rod, but it's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, if you were paying attention to the first screen, the Freezor kill, the frozen enemy, where I fire out immediately, that was only possible because I fluted right before transitioning. And, more on that in about 2 dungeons.
Yeah, before the fire rod fix came out, I was used to, as a early, in my early years running this, I was used to pausing in a specific place and firing a fire rod shot. It actually was a little bit more difficult than the way Requiem did it, in my opinion, because when I forget to hit that flute, I don't always hit the Freezor. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tiny bit faster, but also significantly easier.
Alright,
So
this
hey,
is the
room.
biggest bomb jump in the game.
This is by far the most important trick in this speedrun. It saves like 2 minutes. It's a completely silly amount of time save. It skips like a loop and a half around this dungeon.
Nice
By
bonk,
keeping
dude.
those by keeping those pegs up, we skip so much of the dungeon. Oh, hello. Coming up to some parts which show that collision in this game just doesn't exist. Hopefully I can show it off.
Oh yeah, here's
Oh.
another minor glitch.
There we go. Oh, we got left side.
Ideally,
You take damage from the staircase
yeah,
because it's a spike floor, actually.
whoever constructed that staircase just left in some spikes they forgot to cover up with insulation or whatever. All right, now we're falling into Cold Stair, which is probably
Really
just going to
nerve-wracking,
be.
boss.
It'll be fine, right? So it's probably we just execute the strat correctly and everything's fine and it's over in a blink. But if anything goes wrong, it gets very scary. Good setup. Yep, there we go.
All right, okay.
There's a
So
couple different
these fights
strats
when
you can
done
do there.
well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. These fights when done well, they all look super fast and super good. This boss fight in particular is extremely scary, and I kind of messed up my movement a little bit. So if I messed it up even more and Cold Stare bulldozed me, one of those puffs do 4 hearts of damage, meaning 2 hits and I'm dead. And the falling ice does 2 hearts each, so it's extremely, especially nerve-wracking for beginner and intermediate runners. And even at the top level, sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
And the prize of this, the big chest item, is the blue mail, which halves your damage essentially, and we do not pick that up because it is very, very time consuming. Just like if we were to not do the bomb jump route, basically.
So by this point in the game, you're expected to have the blue mail and probably 4 more heart containers and probably 3 bottles full of potions and fairies and stuff. We're skipping
We have... Oh, hello.
a lot of stuff that the game wants us to have to be safe. Oh, nice deboost. Okay, well, the second one wasn't nice anymore.
Wow, the boulders have been really rough in this run.
Yeah.
And there's nothing
all
we can
love
do
Death
about
Mountain.
them.
Luckily, we don't have to come back to Death Mountain again, right?
Unfortunately.
I can't make that promise.
Requiem going for a setup to get that quick warp, found by a runner named Kaznode.
So
very
if
strong
you actually
runner
paid
in this
attention to
category.
Yeah, if you paid attention to the second one, you'll notice that the animation actually went on longer because I missed the quick warp for that second one, losing about 30 frames.
So we need that
Yeah,
Ether Medallion to enter Misery Mire, which we'll be doing after Swamp. And you can get it in kind of a few different places. Probably the most popular place at this point to get it is where Requiem is doing it. It's not technically the fastest, but as we have demonstrated, it's very hard to get through Death Mountain without taking any damage. And taking damage is less punishing in Swamp than in the other places where you could get Ether, because this is supposed to be the second dungeon that you do in the Dark World, and we're doing it, I don't know, 5th or 6th. So we're like quite overgeared for it.
Yeah, the game expects you to have like Master Sword and probably not this many hearts coming into Swamp. So most of the enemies don't do as much damage.
There are a couple of different ways to get through that dam, and Rec took the middle route, which is a pretty standard route. The right strat is a little trickier.
Teams. Those guys can sometimes get out of your way, and you have to go chase them down to make that chest appear.
Yeah. We call these guys Phelps.
We do recently call them Phelps. And
Recently, it's been like over a year.
yeah, I mean, that's
I guess by your
recent.
standards, that's recent, yeah.
By this game's standards, we call Spooky, which was discovered in 2017, recent. So
Yeah, right.
Well, listen. Requiem, if Requiem were playing on a legitimate console, he would have to grab the wall there to save a few frames of lag while the water is filling, but because he's playing on a SNES console instead, I'm pretty sure he gets that time save for free. But I'm not sure that we actually got around to testing that.
yeah, we haven't tested that yet, but I would be surprised if it didn't save that time. 'Cause
Yeah.
this console is pretty terrible at lag emulation. It's pretty close, to be fair, but like it's pretty noticeable when it isn't.
Right.
Yeah, the leaderboards on speedrun.com are fairly strict when it comes to this game, and we don't allow emulators that are inaccurate. SNES Classic is, it has inaccuracies like we're talking about, but it doesn't add up to enough to seem worth testing, basically. It is worth testing, but we just haven't done it to see if it saves a heck of a lot of time.
Yeah, I did just a small amount of testing recently, and maybe at some point I or someone else will get around to being more thorough about it. But yeah, just a lot of drudge work to know really confidently.
And it's fairly reasonable to assume that this console is still slower than the actual console, because this runs at 60 FPS. Well, that probably would have hit me. While the original console runs at about, I believe, 60.01. And the difference over the course of this 1.5 hour run is about 12 to 13 seconds. And with the lag time saves, I'm not sure if we'll get up to 12 seconds. So it's probably still slower.
It's probably still slower, but we just don't really know how much or exactly. This game was released in 1991.
Hey, that's like 8 years before I was born.
Please stop. Don't say things like that to me. So we're getting the hook shot is the big prize for winning this, for whatever, the big chest prize of this dungeon. Really fun item. This is my favorite item as a kid, casually.
Can't believe we don't come to this dungeon earlier. We could have been hook pushing for so many other dungeons.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tricky room. That was well done. That's the hook dash room. So I mentioned a major glitch, but there is a minor glitch that we can do with hookshot, one of the item dashes, and one of them is to simply attach Link to the statue to the left, and for some reason the hook dash state allows Link to grab a pot and take priority
subpixels
over the statue in the way. So
whether or not you can grab that pot
whatever.
is based on your subpixels, and I think that the hook dash state just normalizes your subpixels every frame.
No, another bonk.
So this is you've gotten beaten up by a lot of things in this dungeon. This should be fine. You're not an Oko to this boss, but you'd really rather be at
It is kind of dangerous. I probably should have grabbed hearts.
You should be fine.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, this is a fantastic demonstration of the hook dash.
Nice fight.
Great zero cycle and fire rod quick kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in my opinion, this is probably like one of the third hardest bosses in the game, behind Lanmo, which you've already seen, and Aghanim 2, which we're yet to see. Not because it'll kill you, but because the strat I executed, zero cycle, is fairly tricky. I've been getting more consistent at it recently. But yeah, essentially, Argus gives you like 3 movements. That's the boss. He's called Wart in some other games like Majora's Mask. He gives you 3 movements, and then he starts spinning his puffs around. So if you can kill all of his puffs before they start spinning, you get the zero cycle. But unfortunately, it's actually really hard. It looked like I just held my sword out and it was just spamming the hook button, but it's not that simple.
No, it's very difficult.
Yeah. You need to go in the state that Chex was mentioning, which is pressing the hook and the dash button on the same frame. And then on specific sword animations, there's like a 5-frame window where you can rehook. And if you miss that window, you will drop your sword. So it's pretty hard to keep that all in check.
And that's not actually the hard part either. The hard part is the movement and correctly getting the puff order. It's just really, really tough. Okay, so watch this bird. You see that bird leaving the screen? Okay, great. We all saw where it left the screen. So there's when you use an item, there's like some chunks of memory somewhere in RAM, whatever. Okay. And one of those locations corresponds to where that bird left the screen in one of the slots, right? So when Link uses items, there's like a few different places in memory that they can go in little separate slots. And that bird left the screen on a certain height. And so that's really important because later we're gonna use the fire rod, and when the fire rod hits something, it has like a splash damage effect, and it's offset based on the value that bird left the screen on, just because it's just like reads this memory and forgets to write it. It just always reads whatever was there in the last item you used in that slot. So we're gonna do some stuff to be like really careful about not wiping out that data, and then we'll be able to skip a bunch of stuff in the basement. That's spooky, by the way. That's why I gave that whole rambling explanation, because Requiem promised that I would.
Yeah, that's what we saw in the first screen of Ice Palace, where by fluting, we reset the altitude variable. And so the fire rod splash damage is where it's supposed to be, and that can kill the Freezor. And that is probably what we saw in Thieves Town as well, where my bomb did not explode the thing. So if it explodes as it's touching the ground, what ends up happening is the bomb explosion gets shifted somewhere. That's not a real menu.
Yeah, you can actually...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You can actually use the thing that probably happened in the attic instead of using the fire rod spooky, but it's a frame perfect trick.
Yeah. And this is the dungeon where you can visibly see something really going wrong, because with where the bird left that screen, we're actually going to use the fire rod area of effect to hit switches that are above us off screen. 2 of them are off screen. One of them is in an entirely different room, and the third one is one, if you look at the top of the screen, which I'll let you know when, you'll be able to see the switch changing color.
Rick also uses a minor glitch to fire rod shots through blocks.
Oh yeah, I always forget that that's even a glitch.
That's a good point, yeah.
When you push a block, there's a moment where it's sort of in motion, and it doesn't like really exist that much while it's in motion. So you can shoot a fire rod and there's no block to stop it.
In limbo. doesn't really exist, neither here nor there.
Yeah, there's actually much
Aw.
more dramatic ways to abuse that state that we found recently, but that's a discussion for a different category.
We single-handedly revived Blockbuster.
Yeah.
That's the name of the trick. That's what we started calling it.
Yeah.
All right.
We have to take a bunch of deliberate damage here. Requiem also wasn't able to go for another strat that would have induced more deliberate damage because of the RNG he got. But we have to take a bunch of damage on purpose here, and then the boss, we also have to take a bunch of extra damage on. So health in this dungeon can be kind of tight. This dungeon's kind of funny though. It's really, really dangerous in the sense that everything does 1,000,000 damage because it's a late game dungeon. But there's very little RNG, and so runners at Requiem's level should be able to get through here with... It's like generally one of the most consistent dungeons once you get good at the game.
All right, it's time for Spooky. I'm gonna hit this thing, hopefully. There we go. I walked off screen a bit too early, but that hit switch number 1. We're gonna hit switch 2 here, and that switch is in the screen above us. And if you focus on the top of the screen, you'll be able to see a switch change color as I hit this torch. Here we go. That's the switch that we've been hitting, and
Very nice.
I think it was discovered in 2017. It saves a whole bunch of time. I think this was one of the biggest NMG time saves that was discovered recently.
Yeah.
Recently being like 6 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it saves about 11 seconds.
That's not good.
Are we going for the left arrow? Probably not with this.
Probably not. I don't...
Okay, please don't die.
I missed.
That eyeball is going to activate at some point. Okay.
Alright, okay. Now he's active.
Well, that didn't go perfectly, but wasn't really super dangerous either, so that's fine.
Friday's probably not watching, but he's rolling in his grave with that, or he's rolling in his sleep with that menu there. We might need a mirror here because that's the next thing we need to do. Some runners have unfortunately mirrored out of the fight, and the mirror will take you to the beginning of the dungeon. So if you do that here, that's a lot of time loss. It shouldn't happen, but sometimes silly things happen.
If we wanted to do a couple more donations while this cutscene finishes, that would be a good time. I don't know if we do or not.
It is the shortest of the 7 maiden cutscenes.
Wait, isn't that Thieves Town? Isn't Thieves Town the
Yeah,
shortest?
Thieves Town is the shortest.
Just kidding. Thieves Town's the shortest. This one's the second shortest.
Okay, so now we gotta get our last item, which is the ice rod, which we will fire probably 2 times.
Hopefully 2 times. Or I guess you can only fire it once, but I don't go for that strat.
It is... Oh my gosh, okay.
Nice defense.
Oh yeah, we do that bonk there because it maybe saves 1 frame if you get picked up by the bird at the right time.
I've heard people say that ever since I started running the game. I don't even know if that's true. I just do it because everyone does it.
I've
That's
heard that it's true.
some nice pattern.
I thought we weren't coming back here.
Sorry, Fox.
Oh,
It's already going great.
alright, we only took 1 damage. That's all good. Only running into 1 boulder is like way better than expectation on that screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to climb Death Mountain and go all the way to Turtle Rock. There are a lot of squirrels in the way as we climb.
Yeah, Turtle Rock is very difficult and also has a bunch of auto-scrollers in it. It's, I don't know, pretty rough dungeon. Terrible overworld. Lots of really difficult rooms and also some pretty boring rooms. That's
Free every time.
Every time.
Yeah, that is quick work. I actually feel like Turtle Rock is similar to Ice Palace in that your room should almost always go the same. Like there shouldn't be too many issues, but just like Ice Palace, there's some things that can just go wrong and then your day is ruined.
Also, the overworld is 100 million times worse.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh, there's another bonk that shouldn't have happened.
There's a lot of RNG to learn as well and react to.
Yeah.
It's a very
Unfortunately,
challenging
we don't
segment.
Yeah. Fortunately, we don't have beams. So that berry you see on screen, that floating jelly, can get in your way, and having beams will get him out of the way, but he didn't pose any problem, so it's fine.
Here, we hookshot into this. We hookshot into this torch. We hookshot into that left torch, as you just saw, because falling to the left scrolls the camera more efficiently for our fall back to the door. And then Requiem is going to grab the magic of shame down here in the pot.
More people should grab this. It'll save all of your TRs, trust me.
Okay, this is no longer low percent. Invalid run.
We're coming up
All
here
right.
on Chomps. Chain Chomp is a famous enemy from the Super Mario series of games. You may be familiar with it. They're in this room, and this room sucks. All right, not a terrible pattern there. Nicely done.
So one thing we did mention a bit earlier is all the way back in Aghanim's Tower, before we entered the Dark World, there was a screen where we talked about skipping the fairy price back, and that is because these pokies, these bouncing enemies here, can drop those fairies. Ideally, you want to see it before Chomp so that you don't get owned too much and die, but we got past that, so we'll be seeing it at some point. Also, one of the reasons why I get ridiculed for picking up that big magic is they also drop a large magic, and if you're not at full health, you can rely on that to get through the dungeon with no issue.
Even if you don't get it, it's fine.
I just like my rooms to be consistent, especially when it gives me patterns where I just can't pick up the drops.
Requiem there, kicking up dust after getting out of that pipe in order to be able to move faster out of the debonification animation. Shoutouts to a runner named True Blue for finding that one.
I think before True Blue, it was known that using the pause menu also saved the poof frames.
Yeah, Zero Rush found that, and then True Blue was messing around with it and found the dust version of it a couple days later. Nice God Pokies, by the way. That's the fastest pattern in that room by a lot.
And we had to skip all the drops, so it's a good thing that I grabbed the magic that I did. Because there's a strat in one of the rooms coming up, which if you don't have magic, it's kind of hard to do.
Bonk, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's another bonk.
Yeah, that pause. I didn't know the full story of the pause menu, so I'm glad to know it was just a few days later.
Yeah, I think Zero found it in messing around with AD, and then True was just experimenting with other ways to do it later that week, if I remember right.
Right, Requiem gets the red beetle out of the way by placing a block, and that is a very consistent way to deal with that room.
Whoa.
This room has...
What a strat!
Yeah, that was nice. That Helmosaur is a tough guy. Going through that room the first time, it looks like, dashing through the lasers is dangerous. Of course, that's not. Coming back and avoiding the mini Helmosaur is the dangerous thing.
The prize of this dungeon is a shield that you're supposed to use to block the lasers, but it's pretty easy, really, to just skip them. The lasers look like they're lasers, but they're actually like one tiny pinprick of danger attached to a long graphic that does nothing.
Right, and some enemies are the same way, like fire snakes. Only the head of the fire snake deals damage to Link.
Yeah. Then good. Try next fight.
Yeah, on the way back from that laser bridge room, you can read that Helmasaur RNG, and if he goes really fast, your goal is to sort of nudge on something to get a key dash to save your dash through the door. And you can dash on either side of the rail. So if he's going fast, he usually ends up so low that you can just dash on the upper rail. And I've never gotten known to doing that.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. I just slash him. Actually, usually I just pray and dash into him and get hit. But if I'm feeling less lucky, I usually slash him.
Yeah, I thought that was known, but maybe I just came up with that and never knew. I thought I picked it up from somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong.
So now we've rescued Zelda, the 7th maiden, from the crystals. So game over. GG.
GG. Yeah, well, the game starts with saving Zelda and it ends with saving Zelda, right?
But wait, there's more. There's one more dungeon to go through, and it's Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, this dungeon is last dungeon. It is the hardest dungeon of the game. It's pretty rare that you die, but what is really common is to lose so much time in every single room. Every single room is really technical. It's kind of similar to Aghanim's Tower that we did before entering the Dark World, in that there's a bunch of technical rooms. Yeah, take those number of rooms and their difficulty and multiply both of them by 2.
Yeah, you're in Aga Tower, the actual tower part, for like 2 minutes, and you're in GT for like 6.
Here's another bonk that can be skipped, but I prefer to grab this key. That's the slowest key the way I do it, because I don't go for something called jingle skip near the top. But a lot of this in the end game is just old habits from when I was a slower runner, just carrying over till now when I'm like so much faster than I was when I was learning. If you're familiar with the game, you'll see me do stuff that looks slow, and it's because it's just carried over.
This game is quite interesting in the sense that a lot of the rooms are just about having a strat and performing them cleanly. And your intro to the game can be, can use the same strats as your, as when you're an expert in it.
It's funny because the game is very optimized, right? Like when a new strat is found that saves 10 frames in a room, people are like, oh my god, this is sick. But also it doesn't really matter, and you can lose 10 frames all over the place. Like, it's very optimized, but also the main place that everybody is losing time up until the very, very, very top levels is just like having huge catastrophes that cost like a minute. So you can do a lot of like safer, beginner, whatever, easier strats up to very, very high levels of play. One of the things in this dungeon is all of the Light World bosses, we refight them. So this is the Armos refight. Nicely done.
Yeah, it's tough because we're dealing with momentum from the ice physics. So that has to be carefully, that movement has to be carefully learned and executed.
Yeah, that's a big tripping spot for a lot of players. You have beams, but Requiem is too cowardly to go for mirror mimics.
That's not a real strat. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's easy.
Mirror mimics is Miramong's version of mimic clipping that clips one of the mimics, the bottom one, out of the bottom of the screen, and we just have to shoot the left-hand one.
Yeah, it is pretty easy to do. It's also really funny because depending on your movement on the next screen, you can sometimes see that mimic just pop back into screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way the game handles kill rooms is it checks that there's no enemies on camera. You don't have to actually kill them, you just have to get them off screen. Doesn't really come up in this run unless you do mirror mimics, but comes up in some glitched runs and randomizers. So this is the gauntlet. This is 5 kill rooms in a row. Very, very difficult portion of the run to do fast. One of the places where even up into the top echelons of play, the better players really distinguish themselves.
Oh no. That was almost good.
Nice spirit arrow in G4.
Yeah. This is our second refight. This time we have slightly better weaponry. Nice one cycle. And we come up on the Wizard's rooms. These are really fun. The Gate of Samaria shoots out 4 projectiles, and Wizards have 1 health, so you can just slam them into 3 Wizards at a time.
Yeah, it makes these 2 rooms so fast.
The first Zelda game had Wizard enemies in it. Oh, are you okay? Okay. Whew.
Are you okay though?
I'm good. I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. No, it's not
That's
lit.
okay.
Okay.
Fox had a bit of a disaster earlier today.
Listen.
Should I wait? Okay, I don't need to.
Yeah.
There's a really weird thing that can happen where if you transition there just as those torches go out and you get the jingle, everything in GTD spawns, including the boss up top. And without him, you can't actually beat the dungeon.
Yeah, that is known as the jingle glitch. And bad glitches like that can happen. In fact, there's one in this room, in Moldorm's arena, where we can get a quadrant glitch by spinning off of Moldorm's head if you are aligned with the quadrant barriers. And,
it's actually not just spinning off his head. You have to tink off his head and then release the spin during the tink.
Yeah, it's technical.
Yeah, but basically everybody does it by accident once.
Yeah.
Alright, coming up on probably the second hardest boss in the game again. Not because you'll die, but because it's just... We call him the Geometry Wizard. It's Aghanim again. You need to hit 6 balls at him again, but this time... You have to...
Nice.
Yeah, that was an easy pattern. This might be easy. Oh, no. I could have gotten into position earlier.
It's all good. Gonna be an easy 3.
Yeah, I would have also been in your shoes there and not been able to hold that spin.
Nice clay.
They are out of bounds
illegal,
now.
But
you didn't see anything. Yeah, we didn't talk too much about the glitch categories in this game. This game is extremely broken. Walls are a suggestion, and that's just like the start of it. There's so much that you can do. But this is NMG, so you did not see what happened there.
Nothing wrong with some marathon swag.
Okay. Cardinal, like vertical and horizontal walls are like very impermeable. But diagonal walls like practically don't exist. It's ridiculous how easily you can get through most diagonal walls.
Hey, look, another bomb.
This is Ganon, the final boss, and there are 4 phases, and Requiem blazed through the first 2 phases, each taking 12 slashes or 6 spins, or a combination of. And now we're on phase 3, which introduces a lot of RNG. Each of Ganon's warps has a 50-50 chance of happening. And we just need this final hit to take us into phase 4.
Phase 4 of Ganon is, in my opinion, one of the most fun parts of the whole run.
Oh no, I missed it.
Nice.
That was a pretty hard one to hit.
Mm-hmm. We saw Requiem shoot 2 fire rod shots for safety.
So you can only spin... so you're supposed to have the silver arrows here. But right before he warps away, he goes intangible and then is briefly vulnerable and then warps away. So if you put a spin on top of him while he's intangible, he'll come back into being vulnerable with your spin still there and take damage. And so that's what this whole fight is built around. If you are a god gamer, you can get 3 spins every torchlight, and that's the game. GG Requiem.
Time is
Nice
coming
run.
up very soon. Right when Link enters the Triforce room. And time.
GG on a nice run.
Thanks to the GG. There were no major disasters, just a couple of panicky moments. But overall, solid run. Any run where you don't die, because dying was like more than a minute in most cases, it's a pretty good run.
Yeah. Pretty good run, and you got to show off Requiem magic.
Oh, that's true. New runners who come in, don't listen to these people. That's the magic you should grab. Haven't been paying attention to the incentives. I'm not sure if we did get the incentive met for the true 90%.
I think
We did indeed get that incentive met.
All right, okay.
Way to go.
Let-
Let's go.
Let's switch over to that real quick. Of course, unless there's something we want to interject before we switch over.
There are no current donations, so it would be great just to go on ahead and show us what that true 80% looks like.
Of course. So just fire this back up.